Good morning. My name is Rev Kylie Renner, and on behalf of the entire One Spiritual Center community, I want to welcome you here today. Thank you for bringing your love and your light into this space this morning. So I have to tell you a story about my morning because I found myself laughing at myself. So recently, our weekends in our household have become really full. And I'm not exactly sure how we could possibly put one more thing in it. It's like everything seems to happen all at once, and we're in the middle of, or the very, very last bit of a major project. And so we're just trying to get everything done. And all of this is happening at once, from my husband taking on new roles in the community to people wanting to come look at furniture in the middle of my construction zone to just everything. And so today, we have every single minute of the day totally stretched. Is exactly everything has to go perfectly or it's going to be really, really bad, right? So this morning, I get out of bed and I do my meditation, and then I take my laptop back to bed, and I'm looking again at the memorial service I've prepared for all week that's happening this afternoon, and I was looking at my talk for this morning to make sure that it didn't shift overnight, which sometimes it does, and I opened my computer, and all of a sudden it went wiggle crazy, and I took that breath that was like, oh shit. I just lost all my work. The world is ending. How the hell am I going to do this? And it was probably less than 5 seconds before my computer figured it itself out. I don't know exactly what was going on. But in those 5 seconds, or maybe less, I had told the story that life was ending. That there was no way that I was going to recover from this. It was the end. And I had to laugh at myself because I think we do that all the time without realizing it. We freak out, way beyond what is actually present. We jump to conclusions. We decide we know what's going on. And it's not even the thing has resolved itself at all yet. And so I'm laughing at myself this morning because I think that there's an opportunity for us to start to look at that thinking and start to be paying attention to what's stirring in us. So that's the theme for this morning, is this idea of what's stirring. Can I listen to what's stirring and not need to move it somewhere else, not need to blow it out of proportion, not need to do anything else except listen to it? And so maybe you're catastrophizing this morning. Maybe you've already been there, like I have this morning. And I'm just going to invite you to allow maybe the space of community and prayer and the space we create together to do something with that kind of thinking. So please join me as we anchor in prayer. Closing your eyes if you're comfortable with that, and just breathing into this space. Recognizing we don't need to be anywhere else than where we are right here. Recognizing that Spirit led us here this morning to give and receive exactly what it is that we need. Recognizing that we can trust in that, and therefore let go of our agenda or what comes next, so that we may open to that which is moving inside of us. And as we allow that movement to guide us, I just recognize that with every breath we are clearer, more able to respond than simply react. And we move to a place of trust. That Spirit, in fact, knows what it is doing. knows how to transform as us, knows how to show up as love, as us. And so I'm just grateful for this opportunity to be together. To pay attention. To let whatever it is that needs to rise to the surface simmer through our experience so that we may reflect clearly, so that we may be supported, so that we may be ready to take the next right step. And so how sweet it is just to lean into that trust. And I just let it be. And so it is.
Pour yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, pour your love in me, pour your love into my heart. Whoa, wonderful Spirit, pour your light in me, shine your light into my heart. Whoa, wonderful Spirit, pour yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart. Whoa, wonderful Spirit.
To prepare for our meditation this morning, I've chosen another poem by Jean Lohman, who's quickly become one of my favorite contemporary poets. It is entitled, What the Day Gives. Suddenly sun over my shoulder in the middle of gray November. What I hoped to do comes back asking. Across the street, the fiery trees hold onto their leaves, red and gold, in the final months of this unfinished year. They offer blazing riddles. In the frozen fields of my life, there are no shortcuts to spring. There are no shortcuts to spring, but stories of great birds in migration, carrying small ones on their backs. Predators flying next to warblers they would, in a different season, eat. Stunned by the astonishing mix in this uneasy world that plunges in a single day from despair to hope and back again, I commend my life to Ruskin's most difficult duty of delight, and to that most beautiful form of courage, to be happy. And so in this time where I'm so aware of us, the capacity to plunge between despair and hope and back again, just allow the meditation to take us today to that place of difficult duty of delight.
Our special music this morning, our good friend Daniel is in town. Daniel Ward is here. There's two of you up there. This is kind of silly, this tune.
As usual, I'm back. I try to pick stuff that you don't normally hear when I'm in town, and this is definitely one of those.
Thank you. That's Daniel Ward, John Bartlett.
You never know. You never know. But when John breaks out the squeak toy, you know it's going to be good. Thank you, guys. I was actually really grateful we could start with something a little silly this morning because I've been feeling heavy. I've been feeling that motion between hope and despair back and forth over and over again that the poem so beautifully talked about for the last few days especially. And I've been trying to pay really close attention to what's going on in my head, like what's stirring. A few weeks ago, a friend sent me an article that I hadn't gotten a chance to read, and I finally sat back and read it. Found some time to read it yesterday, and it was actually an article that was revealing to me for the first time that there are certain people that don't have an inner monologue. So most of us, I think, have this kind of constant kind of thinking going on where we're talking to ourselves about what's happening. We're having this whole conversation with the world in our heads. And the article was about the fact that for some people, that's just not how it occurs. And totally mind blown, right? Like if you're so, like me, so used to that, and so used to having this kind of constant barrage of sentences and like you could actually record it. Gets my voice talking to myself. And I make up all kinds of interesting shit. Some of it's real, some of it's not real, but so what I've been paying attention to is first this tendency, and then also what that sounds like, just in a deeper way than ever before. And I realized yesterday that I was arguing with someone in my head about something that hadn't ever happened and will never happen. And I had justifications. I had a whole line item of why they were wrong and I was right. I mean it was very deeply involved, and I made the whole thing up. And when I was paying attention to this, I realized how crazy making that really is, right? Like how if we're letting that kind of rule our world, that we will walk into a situation already having predetermined what was going to happen. We're already in a mood. We've already, have all of it laid out, like how we think it's going to happen. And truly, how limiting is that? How crazy making that is that? How ridiculous is that? So I started to think about it from the perspective of Eckhart Tolle, who talks about like this tendency to overthink and to think that our thinking is the most important thing going on, right? So what he says is not to be able to stop thinking is a dreadful affliction. But we don't realize this because almost everybody is suffering from it. And we don't realize that we're suffering from it because we think it's just normal. We think we just have to have arguments with imaginary people in our heads about shit that doesn't matter and things that will never occur. Right? And it's so interesting to think about all of the wasted energy and time we spend trying to manipulate and control things in our own minds that really, really don't matter, or at least don't matter in the way that we've let them take us over. So I have this question that I have written in the top of my journal where I take my problems to. And the question is, what if what I'm trying to solve isn't actually a problem? What if this thing that I'm trying to attack or to confront or whatever it is, what if that is actually not a problem? What if I didn't see it that way? What if I wasn't using my mind in that way? What if something else is happening here? So Eckhart Tolle goes on to say that this incessant mental noise prevents us from finding that realm of inner stillness that is inseparable from being. And it also creates a false mind-made self that casts a shadow of fear and suffering all over everything we do. And that's the problem with this kind of incessant chatter, that out of control mind that if we just let it go, is that it creates this whole narrative that is false. It separates us from the groundedness of our being, and it separates us from the wisdom that's inside of us that is so much more than our thinking. So I use that question about if what I'm trying to solve or what I'm dealing with isn't actually a problem to reset the barometer, because it starts to make everything seem really out of whack if I'm not created a sense of, is this actually a problem? Is this actually required the attention I'm giving it in this way? Is this actually something that is mine to do? Do I need to approach it in this way? Because I don't know about you, but I'm really good at just doing it anyway, right? Just getting way down that road without realizing that it wasn't even a problem that needed to be solved in the first place. So I had a teacher many years ago that was helpful for me in this, because I think I had a tendency, especially in my early years as a minister, to blow things out of proportion, which when you're experiencing something for the first time, it can start to feel like, oh wow, this is a huge problem, right? Like, it's easy to start to get into that. And he took me aside one day and he said, "Kylie, it's just church." And it was so helpful to have someone say that to me, because like this morning, when I had a computer problem for 5 seconds, had already determined, right, like that it was a catastrophe, and it's just church. Who cares? Right? Like, really, in the grand scheme of things, who cares? Or who care? Like, will you remember that in 5 years? If you didn't go into attack mode, if you didn't start to determine that it was a problem, if you didn't go into overthinking, if you didn't start to ruminate on it, would you remember it in 5 days? And these are questions, right, to really start to put things in perspective, because there's some things that we give a lot of attention to that really, really don't need our attention. So I came across a list of some ways in which to confront this, and I liked some of them, because when I started to hear myself argue with someone who didn't exist about something that didn't happen, that would never happen, I realized that if I didn't start to have a zero tolerance policy in my own head about going there, that I was going to let myself get away with it, right? So when I started to hear, because it was really funny, I noticed myself doing it, and so I kind of did a reset, and then about 10 minutes later, I was right back there where I left off. I really needed to get the last word. And I realized that I needed to start holding myself accountable, saying, I need to have zero tolerance for this. This is a waste of my energy. This is a waste of my time. This is crazy, for one thing. And this zero tolerance policy means that we don't allow ourselves to get away with it. Because I think that one of the things that we first have to do is just to accept that we all have a problem with this on some level. Like, it's just how our brains are wired. In fact, it's not a negative in some ways. Like, our neural pathways actually have been created to allow for this kind of higher level thinking, right? And we just misuse it. Right? We don't allow ourselves to use it in the right way. So really, we have to accept that we all have a problem with making things up, overblowing things, making things problems that aren't problems, and then forgive ourselves because we're hardwired for it on some level. So we're set up for overthinking, but that does not mean we have to give into it. That doesn't mean we have to give our time and our energy to worrying about things that actually don't matter. So I love that saying that worrying is like rocking in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Because truly, like, most of the things that we worry about just give us something to think about, something to use our mental energy on, and don't actually move the problem forward, don't actually move us forward. And so the other thing I realized about this overthinking that happens is that if we are conscious of the fact that we go into this kind of rumination, we also have to be careful that we don't co-ruminate. And what I mean by this is that most of the time we have attracted into our lives people around us who ruminate in the same way as us, who will validate our overthinking, right? That's the people we call our friends, right? And it's so easy to get into that kind of pattern where we're ruminating and then we're co-ruminating and then we're going out on our own to do it by ourselves again, and then we're meeting up with some other friend and it just starts to build on itself. And we really needed to realize that we're doing it and create a zero tolerance policy for ourselves, giving ourselves permission to allow that kind of expression to take over. Because it's certainly helpful to get support. It's certainly helpful to be, able to talk things through. But also, we need people in our lives that will tell us to stop it, right? Like, is it real? Like Byron Katie, who's some of her approaches are not things that I resonate with, but one of her major question is it true? Like, is what's going on in your head even true? And if you can't see that for yourself, you need to find people in your life who can help you see that. And the good thing about that is that we have this amazing capacity to attach ourselves to untrue things, and it's so easy to let those things go once it's clear, right? Once it's clear, wow, it's just church, Kylie, right? Like, don't need to hold on to it that way. Don't need to make it a big deal in that way. That's not what is called for right now. So I love the writer Anne Lamott. She's just my kind of irreverent, and she has this piece that resonates about like this, what we're really looking for when we're looking for support, like not this kind of co-rumination, but like the kind of real kind of support. And so this is her version of that. You know how sometimes you go to church or temple or mosque or to those little meetings for people like you who perhaps have teeny control issues or used to drink until you ended up face down or married. And you sit there desperately hoping someone will say the exact right thing to help break the toxic trance you're in and help you find your way back home. Well, what would that exact thing be? One day at a time. Hack. Thank you for sharing. I wish I'd brought my slingshot. I'd shoot you. Or, you can't feel fear and faith at the same time. How fabulous. Did God stop by this morning to tell you that? Well, let's see. I happen to have a lot of fear and a lot of faith at the same time, a lot. I find the world as scary as it is magical, and have from time to time, from the time I was 4 or 5 when my migraines began. This place has never been a good match for someone like me, who was perhaps just the tiniest bit more vulnerable and sensitive than the average bear. Or, my personal favorite, God never gives us more than we can handle. Really? So let's see. Your point is, I shouldn't feel as hopeless or scared or sad as I do just because the world seems to be caving in on itself and that there seems to be a sniper in the trees picking off the people I adore. And instead, if I do feel very sad or insane or not up to the challenge, the problem is with me. When people say stupid stuff to someone I love who is really going through it, I just hear rage. If someone says let go and let God with certainty and cheer, I know that they secretly want to get their how do you say that word? Kalishnikov. And stroll through the neighborhood. What a horrible thing to say when someone is half mad with grief or fear. I say to the recipient, that is complete BS, and you must promise me you will avoid that person like the plague for the foreseeable future because they are a danger to your spirit. The truth is, everyone worth his or her salt, all of your very best people feel broken, stunned, overwhelmed, and defection some of the time. When people don't, when they feel very pleased with their personal upbeat selves and their all-encompassing worldview, like, say, the nice Duggar family, we want to run screaming for our cute little lives, and we absolutely don't want to sit near them at dinner. So what do I want to hear? So what do I want to hear at a gathering like church, say, or at a random group of alcoholics? I want to hear, me too. I have that too. I know what that feels like. Gandhi and Jesus knew what that feels like, the loneliness, the sadness, the brutality. Jesus often said, it's very hard here. Have you eaten? Look, you all stick together. Go to the beach and have some fish. Share what you have. We'll talk later. I want to hear, wow, thank you for trusting me with that. That's a big fucking drag. I've been through that too. Let's file a brief with the complaints department. Come, we'll sit down with a nice cup of tea and plan our strategy. I heard the exact right thing last week when a preacher on the radio said, stop talking about the mountain that's in your way, that makes it bigger. Talk to the mountain. Talk to the mountain. Say, I will defeat you. I had to pull over to the side of the road, and I glared, and I looked as scary as an aging black belt codependent can. And I said to my mountain, I will defeat you, you fucking dickhead mountain. And in the following week, I did. I want someone to say that against all odds, there is a solution. There really absolutely is. And that it's not out there, not in circumstance. Circumstances do not need to change to feel peace again or even happiness. It's not in amassing or achieving. I so hate this. As Lily Tomlin said, the problem with winning at the rat race is that you're still a rat. The solution is in knowing the truth. The solution is always spiritual, and it almost never has anything to do with the problem. We're going to do that one again. The solution is always spiritual, and it almost never has anything to do with the problem. I want to hear someone remind me that if I want to have loving feelings, I need to do loving things. I want someone to make me laugh about our shared humanity and cuckoo-ness. I want someone to remind me that laughter is carbonated holiness. I want someone to make me promise them that I'll go outside. That, as someone else has probably said, praise is an attitude. I can in advance thank you-know-who, a.k.a. the cosmic muffic, a.k.a. Howard, as in our Father who Howard in heaven, Howard be thy name. I want someone to remind me of what Ram Dass said, that we're all just walking each other home. I want to hear that big fat cherries are on sale for $4.99 at most stores and that peach season has almost officially begun. I want to hear that I am loved and chosen and welcome. No matter what a mess I've made of things or how defective I feel sometimes, I just want to hear that it will get better, although maybe not tomorrow right after lunch. I want to hear that you and God will never leave me alone. That I'm not nuts for finding life a totally mixed grill, unlike the nice bumper stickers. That it can be hard, magical, brutal, gorgeous, unfair, hilarious, sweet, wild, and mysterious, all at once. Or that if I am nuts, you're nuts too. And so we're lucky to be together in this jar, as it is so delicious. That is what I need to hear today. And that is what I'm going to say today in spite of it all. So there. So I love this piece because for me, it reminds me of that place I need to go when I start to create problems that aren't there. I need to go back to that place where I can hear that I am loved and chosen and welcome no matter what the mess looks like. no matter what it feels like, no matter how distant a solution feels to the problem. And truly that capacity to get there is where the healing starts. And I love that statement, that the solution is always spiritual and it almost never has anything to do with the problem. Because when I get stuck in the problem, I can't often find the real solution because I am just in the problem, not realizing that it is part of something bigger where there's a solution coming from some direction that I couldn't see before. And so if you're like me and you're battling with this overthinking and catastrophizing and fighting with imaginary people and having arguments about things that don't exist, then maybe, like me, you can start to use this space inside of you that knows that there's more, that you are more, that the problem is never as big as you think it is, that spirit is always bigger. And to allow for another level of trust that things are going to unfold in some way they can't see yet. And so the solution is always spiritual, and it often has nothing to do with the problem. And so if we go to that spiritual space, right, that space that's not about what our mind's going to do with it, how we can figure it out, control it, or manipulate it, but actually go to that space where real solutions come from, then we open something else inside of ourselves, and then we can say, so there. And so what? And this feels like a problem, but what if it's not? What if something else is going on here that I can't see yet? Show me. And this is the relationship we can have with this bigger idea. And so the image kept coming to me as I was thinking about this morning was this kind of idea of like, what's stirring? Can I let it stir without needing to turn it to whip? Right? Like, can I just pay attention to the way in which Spirit moves in me before I get to that place where I have come up with a problem that doesn't exist, that needs to be fought or confronted, some mountain that seems like it's in my way that I need to defeat? Can I actually move to a space from that stirring of right action and appropriate response instead of what would be my tendency to ruminate and make it bigger than it needs to be? And so we can all practice this together, because I'm certain that you have some flavor of this. Might not be my particular flavor of crazy, but I'm certain there's your own flavor, and to see if just paying attention can help move it to some different place. So I'm going to ask the band to come back up, because we're going to sing into our prayer. And as we do so, I'm just maybe going to have you think about something you've been overthinking, something you're obsessed by, something that is creating anxiety. And if you don't have something, bless you. And you can help me hold space for those who are feeling it right now. And as we pray, sing into our prayer, we are just going to allow this prayer to create a space of clear reflection, so that we may access that bigger place in ourselves that is much more than our thinking. So please join me as we sing.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us.
And so our prayer of love today is a prayer of freedom. Prayer of freedom from all of those ways in which we use our mind to limit our experience. Freedom from the affliction of overthinking and thinking that's just the way it has to be. And as we allow ourselves to step back and put things in their right proportion, to reset our perspective, we see where it is that we can allow our wisdom that is so much bigger than any problem take over. We can see where we can take our hands off trying to find a solution and allow Spirit to move us in a direction that may be so different than we thought the solution lie. And I just know that Spirit knows what it is doing. I know that the wisdom inside of us is connected to a wisdom that is so deep and clear that often we can't even recognize it as itself. And so we allow ourselves to more powerfully access that wisdom by letting go of the idea that everything is a problem and creating problems that don't exist because we think that's just what life is. And we allow ourselves to access something so much sweeter that's been there the whole time. A remembrance that we are loved and chosen and welcome, no matter what a mess we think we've made of it all. And I just recognize that embrace of the one. I know that it is with us always, even when we cannot see it, even when we cannot feel it, even when we are pushing it away. And we can just trust. This is my prayer of love today. I know that it is good, and so I let it be. And so it is.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Once again, Daniel Ward, you guys don't realize that all my favorite guitar players are here right now. Except for Michael Anthony. We got Chris Drake out there. And Daniel, who's playing this tiny, like, baby guitar thing that he plays. And Demi's here. It's pretty amazing. It's like a guitar festival. And there's two Daniels, so he's...
This tune is called Freedom Jazz Dance, talking about freedom.
Oh.
And you can dance in your head, or you can get up and dance if you want to. But this is definitely a danceable, crazy little tune. Freedom Jazz Dance.
That's Daniel Ward. Daniel Ward.
Can say I never imagined hearing freedom jazz dance on ukulele. I'm in love. Thank you. So now's the time where we move into the sharing of our tithes and offerings. I invite you to take whatever it is you brought to share with this community today and hold it over your heart. And I invite you to give it a silent blessing, whatever that might be for you today. Maybe there's some way in which you've been holding on to something that really is asking for you to find some freedom around it. Or maybe there's just some overthinking happening that is keeping you focused on a problem and a solution that can't be found that way. Whatever that is for you today, I just invite you to feel what it feels like to remember that you are loved and chosen and welcome and supported in some bigger way than you ever imagined. And that right now, here and right now, you can let that in. That you can let that spiritual solution find its way into your life right here and now. So it's just in this knowing that I invite you to sing it with me.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Take this light around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Won't let anyone blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Won't let anyone blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Won't let anyone blow it out, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So please join me as we bless all that has been offered into this space, all of the laughter, all of the music, all of the questions, all of the love, all of the willingness to let go. I just recognize Spirit's presence here, guiding us even further into this precious life that we've been given and all of the transformation that is seeking to happen as us. And just let that stirring of Spirit guide more deeply, providing clarity for whatever comes next for each and every one of us. And I just know that we are supported in this, and so I just take a deep breath and let go into that. I let it be. And so it is. Thanks, honey. So I just have I have an invitation for you to come back this afternoon at 2 p.m. in this space. We will be having a memorial service and celebration for our beloved Annie, who happens to be our amazing Chris Jacobs' mama and a member of our community. And I've been preparing for this for several weeks now, thinking about what I wanted to share and say. And I went back through because I have this folder in my desk that's titled Love Notes, because I was for a long time, for about 10 years in a previous job, getting a lot of hate mail, and I had a folder to keep track of it, and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, and so I started to keep track of my love notes. And so Annie was really good at leaving me notes. And so I came back across this one, which made me giggle this morning. So this is what she said to me, which I'm holding as we go forward. She said, Reverend Kylie, if you would please do a prayer for me for $3,487,000.13, I will make a large donation to one center. In the meantime, my prayers are with you and the great success for the center, Annie. And so I'm holding a prayer for $3,487,000.13. We laughed about that number. She came up with it one day in class about 5 years ago, and I've been praying for that number for her, and it never changed. It always had 13 cents. And I'm feeling her prayers for us and the success of this center this morning. So we'll be honoring her. She will be deeply missed, and we will be honoring her today at 2 p.m. in this space. So you're welcome to come back and join us for that. Also, this very cool new spring edition of the Outpost calendar came out. It's right over by the door. And if you turn to page 16 in it, you will see our brilliant band. And a write-up for our concert here on Thursday, March 12th. And I'm going to read it to what they came up with in it because I like it. Feel free to grab one of these or more than one to help share that. So it says, founded by Reverend Kylie Renner 2 years ago, next week, by the way, One Spiritual Center now holds their weekly services every Sunday at the Outpost at 11 a.m. The One Spiritual Center describes itself as blending insights from the world's wisdom traditions, poetry, and jazz to create sacred space. Music is central to the One Spiritual Center vision. The One Spiritual Center band, which has served as Kylie's church band for the past 10 years, features some of the community's finest musicians. Sid Fendley, Milo Jaramillo, Dimi DeSanti, and John Bartlett, plus featured guests each week. Tonight, hosted by Reverend Kylie Renner, the band shares their favorite music, joined by guest vocalists Carla Terwilliger, Patty Littlefield, Tracy Whitney, and more. We have Arlen Asher and Lee Taylor joining us.
And Paul Gonzalez.
Oh, and Paul Gonzalez. Woo, I didn't know about that one. So we're going to have a great evening. So please help us get the word out. Tickets are available on the Outpost website. We will also have some tickets available starting next week here on Sundays. So I'm really looking forward to that. So this is a great way to get the word out. And I'm going to stop talking now. So thank you for being here. Let us sing our final song.
Together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord and we can feel alright. People get ready, there's a train a-coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need hear that diesel humming. You don't need no tickets, you just think. feel alright. People get ready for the train to Jordan. It's picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key. Open the doors and board 'em. There's room for all that love the most. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright.
One last blessing to sing to one another.